Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers and my dear learners. Today we are going to learn voice change from active to passive, and we are going to learn voice change of interrogative sentence. So, dear learners, let's get started. Voice of interrogative. Dear learners, you know there are two types of voice change of interrogative sentence, that is yes no questions and WS questions. So at first we are going to discuss about yes no questions. So you know, dear learners, yes no questions actually begins with helping verb or auxiliary verbs. Look at the board. Do you like English? So this is an instance of yes no questions. Yes no questions actually begins with auxiliary verb or helping verb, that is HV. Then comes subject, and then the main verb, and then object or extension. So this is the structure of yes no questions. We are going to change it into passive. So to make it passive, actually we need to know the tense. So look at the sentence. Do you like English? This is an instance of actually present indefinite tense, and as it is present indefinite tense, that's why we have to take am is are as helping verb. So at first we have to see the object. So here object is English, and we know English is third person singular, that's why it will take is as helping verb. Actually there is a little difference between the voice change of assertive sentence and voice change of interrogative sentence. In assertive sentence, at first comes the object as subject, but in interrogative sentence, at first according to tense and object, we have to take the extra helping verb before the object. Okay, at first we have to take extra helping verb or auxiliary verb before making the object as subject in the passive voice. That is the difference. Just one helping verb that will come after object subject in assertive sentence, and in interrogative sentence this helping verb will come after the subject of the passive voice. So that is the difference. Now we have to take the main verb as verb 3 form. As you know, in passive voice the verb will be always in actually verb 3 form. Then we have to take by preposition or other preposition as necessity, and then the subject will be object. So here the subject is you, and it has become object in the passive voice. So let's discuss it again. At first we have to identify the tense. So do denotes present indefinite tense, and according to tense we have to take the helping verb am is are in passive voice, and here object is English, and that's why English will take is, and so is will come first, and then object will be subject, and then the verb of active voice will be verb 3 form in passive voice, and we have to take by or other preposition as necessity, and finally we have to make the subject as object of the passive voice. This is the way you can make from active to passive of interrogative sentence. So dear viewers and my dear learners, I hope you have understood the rule. Now I am going to give you another example of yes no questions. Is he writing a letter? Is he writing a letter? So this is an instance of yes no questions. As a rule, it has begun with helping verb, and that's why it's an example of yes no questions. So at first we have to identify the tense. Is he writing? That is, the tense is present continuous tense, and if you find present continuous tense, then the extra helping verb of passive voice will be am being, is being, or are being. So here the letter is object. We have to think about the object, and according to the object we have to take the extra helping verb of passive voice. So a letter will take is being, but we have to remember before making the object as subject of the passive voice, before making the object as the subject of passive voice, we have to take the extra helping verb. And if you find double helping verb, is and being, here we can see two helping verb, then the first helping verb will come before the subject of the passive voice, and the second helping verb being will come after the subject of the passive voice. In this way we have to rearrange. We have to arrange it, and now the task of making object as subject and taking extra helping verb has been finished, and now the third task is we have to make the verb as verb 3 form. So here the verb 3 form of writing is written. So now we have to take preposition, and finally the subject will be object of the passive voice and note of interrogation. So in this way we have to make passive voice of interrogative sentence. If we find continuous tense or perfect tense, then we have to remember one thing, that is we have to remember that is perfect tense and continuous tense will take two auxiliary verbs in passive voice. So I hope you have understood the rule. Now we are going to discuss about WH questions. So let's see. Why do you like English? So this is an instance of WH questions. So my dear learners, if you find WH questions in active voice, then the passive voice actually is easy, as we have already done about yes no questions, and the main difference of yes no questions and WH questions is just a WH word. We have to write the WH word at first. There is nothing to do with the WH word. One or two WH word are actually exception. They will change their form in passive voice, but maximum WH word actually does not change its form in active and passive voice. So here we can see why in active voice, we have to write why in passive voice. There is nothing to do with these WH words, and that's why my dear learners, don't worry, just look at the screen and you will understand it better. So then we have to identify the tense. So here do is present indefinite tense, and that's why it will take am is our helping verb, and according to the object we have to take am is our before making the object subject. So English will take is, and that's why we have to take is here. We have to take is here, and then object will be subject. And after that we have to make the main verb as verb 3 form. So here like is main verb and its verb 3 form is liked. And then we have to take by preposition, and subject will be object and note of interrogation. So in this way you can make passive voice of WH questions easily. Actually there is nothing to worry about WH questions, because the WH word which you will find in active voice will be the same in passive voice. One or two exception, besides one or two, or except one or two exceptions, actually speaking, the rule is very simple. Just we have to write the WH word, then according to tense we have to take helping verb, then object will come as subject in the passive voice, and after that the main verb will be verb 3 form, then by preposition, or as necessity you can you need to take other prepositions also if the verb goes with such kind of prepositions like to, with, at, etc. And then we have to make the subject of the active voice as object of the passive voice. So let's see the exception WH words that actually changes its form in passive voice. So look at the WH word who. So you know who is a pronoun, and it's interrogative pronoun. So it has 3 forms. You know, who is the subjective form, and its objective form is whom, and its possessive form is whose. Its possessive form is whose. So that's why comes the actually method of changing who as whom in passive voice. Okay, so as who is subjective form, so naturally when we will make passive voice, subject will be object as whom. So let's see the example. Who called me? So here in this sentence, who is acting as subject because it comes before the verb call, and that's why here who is acting as a pronoun and acting as a subject. And so as the subject of active voice will be object in the passive voice, that's why who becomes whom in passive voice. But before making subject as object in the passive voice, we need to take preposition like by, to, at, with, etc. before the object. So here object is whom. As we know, subject is who and its objective form is whom. So as subject is actually becoming object in the passive voice, that's why we need to take one preposition before it, and call verb will take by preposition. That's why comes the matter of taking preposition by. So in this way who becomes by whom in the passive voice. Now the rule is the same as we have actually practiced earlier. Now we have to take extra helping verb according to the object. So here object is me and its subjective form is I, and I will take was. So we have to take extra helping verb was, then object will be subject, and now the main verb will be verb 3 form and note of interrogation. And in this way you can make the passive of the place word who. Okay, so dear learners, I hope you have understood the matter why who becomes by whom. Who becomes by whom because who is the subjective form and its objective form is whom, and that's why we are taking here whom as object, and before making the subject object we need to take preposition, and that's why comes the preposition by before whom, and in this way who becomes by whom, or it may be different. Let's see another example. Who knows it? Who knows it? So here who will be whom, and before that we have to think about the verb know. It will take two preposition in passive voice. So we have to take two, and who is subject and its objective form is whom. In this way who can be to whom according to the verb. Okay, as no verb take two preposition, that's why we have to write here to whom, not by whom. Then we have to take extra helping verb according to tense, as it is present indefinite tense. That's why the object it will take is preposition, and then the object will be subject here, and now the verb 3 form non and note of interrogation. In this way who can be actually converted into to whom in passive voice, sometimes by whom, sometimes with whom. That's why there is no such rule that if you find who, then it will become by whom. No, always actually it will never by whom, sometimes it may be to whom. So I hope you understood the rule. Let's see another WS word that also changes its form in passive voice, that is whom. As you know, whom is the objective form. Whom do you like? So we know that the objective form of active voice will be subjective form in passive voice. So here whom is the object and its subjective form is who. That's why whom will be who. Now we have to take helping verb according to tense. So here tense is present indefinite tense, that's why we have to take is, and now the verb 3 form, and by preposition, and subject will be object. So here you is subject and its objective form is you. So this is the actually rule why whom becomes who in passive voice. I hope you have understood the rule. So let's see other WH words actually that will never change its form in passive voice. So let's see one example. What do you want? What do you want? Actually, in this sentence, what will never change its form. What is acting as object here, and its subjective form is what. And according to tense, we have to take helping verb. Then the main verb will be in verb 3 form. And finally, we have to take by, and now subject will be object and note of interrogation. So other WH word will never change its form. Just we have to write as it is in the active voice. So let's see another example. Where did you see him? Where did you see him? Where did you see him? Let's see the example. So here where will be in the same place. Here where is working as object, so its subjective form is where, and then according to tense we have to take extra helping verb. Okay, so as it is past indefinite tense, then comes the method of taking was or where. So here according to actually object, we have to take the extra helping verb. Here object is him and its subjective form is he, and before that we have to take helping verb. So where was he, and now verb 3 seen, and now by preposition and subject will be object. So in this way you can change the voice sense. My dear learners, I hope you have understood the rules very well. So if you want such kind of videos again and again, then follow my Facebook page Muhammad Ali, and subscribe and like, share my videos. Subscribe my channel Ali's English Academy. Thank you very much.